All right, it's that time. Welcome. Homemade repertoire.
PJ. Hi.
Having a good day.
Yeah.
Well, it's that time. So we'll go ahead and start off with a little bit of prayer. And we will make things be what it needs to be. Y'all with me on that? Am I turned on? Good. Heavenly Father, we come here in the name of Jesus. We just come giving you the credit first, period. Without you, we know it's nothing we can do, Heavenly Father. So we thank you for the gifts, the talents, the abilities that you've given us. I thank you for the message you've given me and just the eyes and mind that you have opened, Father, to let me see that it's really up to me, Father. So I just thank you for this day. Anoint this message and bless those who are coming still yet this evening so that they will make it safe and make it home safe. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Okay.
Good seeing everybody. Hey, welcome, welcome. I was thinking about you. I'm like, all right, so I can start now. Sure, I'll look at myself. All right, y'all ready for me tonight? Good. I'm ready to teach, boy, and I'm ready to teach. So I just want to make sure that we all in the same mindset of growing, same mindset of getting ahead in life, and the mindset of learning. So it's good to see folks with the note-taking abilities, whatever you got to do. I want you to vibe off this. I want us to get the right information so that we can get the information to grow. Y'all with me on this? Good, good. Well, great. Well, as you can see, the title of tonight's message is The Game is Fixed. Oh, yeah, I'm going to repeat that one more time. I don't think y'all heard me. The game is fixed. So we can think about any game you want to look at. And I just want you to look at things for a chance to say, when the game is fixed, that means you already know what the outcome is going to be, right? So, I already know the game is fixed. So when you recognize and understand the game is fixed, you also adjust your character, and that character that you adjust is that of a winning, fixed mindset. Because you already know the game's fixed, you're going to win. Does that make sense? So when you know you're going to win something, and you know you can't get up, people walk with a different character, don't they? They walk with a different posture. They walk in the room like you. I already know I won. You can't beat me. You ever see the good boxing match when, especially Tyson in his heyday? Tyson walked in a room like in them black shoes with no socks on. You just look at him, he look at you like, hey, the game, he is fixed. He won. So we got to look at this as our own personal lives and take this as like, you know what? The game is fixed. And you got to maintain this mindset, this mentality, because that's what I'm on right now, is that the game is already fixed. So if the game is messed up, I'm the one that messed it up. A lot of times we look at parents raising their children or, see certain situations and they'll pave the way. And then the kids go a different route. They're like, if you stuck to the route, you would have made it. Why? Because the game was already fixed for the win. So think about this. You are the rookie and the veteran when you are willing to start a new project and you are humble enough to consult experienced people. Now, don't that make sense? See, life is aligned with valuable lessons that will force you to mature and grow up real quick. Sometimes people mess themselves up from that simple word of grow up. Y'all say grow up.
Grow up.
A lot of times we just need to grow up. It's not that things are not working. It's more so that people aren't growing up so that they can work. When you realize that you're a rookie, and that's why I chose to use that word, that means you just started. But the coach is a veteran. Y'all with me on this? So when a rookie teams with a veteran coach, somebody who's already won the championship, then they come together and they work as a team. So now the experience of the person who's already been there teams up with the new person who has the ability, oh man, they can make some magic happen. As long as that new person listens. That's why you must align yourself and understand that there's going to be some valuable lessons that you'll learn in life. If you're not paying attention to the valuable lessons going on around you, you won't mature and you won't grow up. And people that don't mature, people that don't grow up, what do? They repeat the same thing over and over. It's like, so if you know you're going to get a butt whooping for not following directions, then follow directions and you don't get the butt whooping. Does that make sense to you? I'm going to leave that alone, for the chillings. So the key principle to understand about life, as I'm going to hit this, and I'm going to drive this point home tonight, is the game is fixed. We're talking about the game of life. The game is fixed. When you know, you look at life and say, you know what, I'm going to win this game. I know what I want. And you say, you know what, this game is fixed. Then you go about it in a certain way, don't you? When you already know what the outcome is going to be, I said it before, you know what the outcome is going to be. So you look at things different. But those who don't work within the lines of success ultimately will fail. Because there's always rules to the game also, right? So if the game is fixed and they tell you, hey, you're fixing to go in this boxing match, but we don't want you to really start fighting hard into the third round. Y'all with me on this? You get to the third round where somebody else the fix might have already been in at this guy in the third round, like he can't really last past 3 rounds. Why? Because you already know how that works. So in the third round, you come out like, hey, stay away. He told me to stay away from him for the first 3 rounds, and then in the third round, come on, fight. So sometimes you go round and round and seem like you just go in different bouts about certain things, and one day you just come out swinging it. Wham! No, now you're going to fall. Now things are falling into place versus falling out of place. See, we get this. We got to just get our minds and say, oh, the game was fixed in the first place. So we got to stay on point with that. See, none of us can change the standard of the law of reciprocity. I'm going to repeat that because this is big and it's major. It's my foundational point. None of us can change the standard of the law of reciprocity. When you get this and understand the law of reciprocity definition, it means a situation or a relationship in which 2 people or groups agree to do something similar for each other, to allow each other to have the same rights, a reciprocal arrangement or relationship. So, in other words, when I understand the law of reciprocity, it goes like this. You enter the room, I smile at you. You see I'm smiling at you and I nod my head with an open smile. I'm happy to see you. What do you do in return? You return the open smile and happy to see me attitude. Likewise, we go out through life with certain situations and you have bugaboos. Y'all just say bugaboo. You're going to go around some bugaboos and they're going to walk around certain things and they come just looking all sad. Well, there's a law for that. That law now is like, you look at them, you're like, okay, I don't even want to return that. So what happens? You get away from them. So they fixate. You ever heard somebody say you are fixated on something? Their mind is fixated on things that are going bad for them. Never seeing that there are some good things that actually happen. So when you can focus on the good things that actually happen, you say, wait a minute, my mind is fixed this way. If you allow yourself to have your mind twisted to go the wrong way, then you are messing up your inheritance. I'll put it that way for you. See, realize this. Life goes round. If you give love, love comes back. That's reciprocity. If you sow seeds, good fertile seeds in the ground, good fertile seeds come back. Now, I go around someone consistently, and I'm a jerk to them consistently. Then eventually, when I go around, they're going to be a jerk to me consistently back. So that's why I keep a fun spirit and happy attitude. So even if somebody gets bad information, well, I didn't get bad information. Keep that over there. You know, they'll be like, you don't care. Like, no, I'm just happy. Like, I didn't get that card. That wasn't meant for me. You know, and if you do get some bad information, you know, hey, that's you know, I'll let that be where it's going to be. So using it the right way is what we have to do. We have to look at stuff and say, you know what, I'm going to use my life the right way. When you use things the right way, then you ultimately see that, okay, I get it. I'm going to use it the right way, which means sincere and your seeds and gifts. I mean, do you want to just help somebody who you could say, even when they say thank you, it's like they don't really care. They almost hate that you did something nice for them. You ever been around that? It's like, get something like, thanks. You're like, give it back. You're like, I ain't gonna never do that for you again. It's like, people are like that. They will take your seed, and it may be all you have, but then they will point out, not that you sowed a seed, they will point out that your seed just wasn't enough. See, that's a law of reciprocity also. So you realize it's like, oh, no. So we got to use the seed in a right way, but there's also a wrong way. And the wrong way is kind of like exploitation. You know, they got the exploiting mentality. You ever met somebody who's like, you just can't do right for them. They're going to exploit every situation. Well, because this happened. You know, I know somebody that had a death in the family, and it was a girlfriend and the guy's baby's mom, and there was a death in the family. They weren't even a part of the situation, but they exploited the situation and said, well, yeah, you know, because this happened, we're mourning too. And you're thinking like, you have nothing to do with that situation. That's not even someone you're close to. And I'm like, you're exploiting that situation because you see that people feel bad and people are giving money to this information. And I watch people as they help you in a more modern way. You got to watch out for the characteristics of it. See, you got to realize that that goes for circle board. When you are up, they will let you mess around and fall on bad times. They're like, oh, you know, I got your. You're like, man, but you always came around. I told a friend of mine one time, you know, I used to drive and I blew the engine in my truck. So I'm like, well, man, boy, you live way out there. And I'm like, same spot. You live in the same spot when I used to try to pick you up for us to go downtown and hang out. And I'm like, and then it was my wife. I got to give her props right there. She was like, your car ain't working now. You at home was working. You was all gone, shining. I'm like, it's so right. Now I'm like, she know what I'm talking about. I'm like, it left me hanging. I'm sitting home the weekend. I'm like, too bad what you working. I'm going to take it with you anyway. But I was like, you know what? That's a groupie mentality. When you're on top of that groupie mentality, they will affect you. You have to be mindful of that because remember, the game is already fixed. So you need folks who are genuinely sincere with you because it goes full circle. You know, if you have a down moment, then they will come help you. And likewise, if they have a down moment and now you're up, it's like a teeter-totter. What happens is you both are keep advancing in life because you're helping each other. See, that's too good for some people. You know, we have to be mindful of this so that we can grow because we don't want to be the deducted on top of life. So you talk and I ain't gonna put the name out. Reciprocity has a golden rule to do unto others as you would have them do unto you. You got to be mindful of that. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. That's why no matter how well a person is doing, person is not folks the same way because I know it. I was, you know how they say just over broke? No, I was under broke. You know, it was at one time where you could just, and people could relate, when you got a bill and you got a bank account, and you have an income, and ain't none of it matching up. Like, okay, this bill got in there, and that's what's coming. Something ain't working. You know, you look and you say you just under broke. Some people are like, oh man, I'm just over broke. That's a good thing. You just over. No, I was under. But I understood the game of life that all the game is fixed. And when you recognize the game is fixed and you start seeing things, you got to be like the good old school cats. You realize this is why experienced people say game recognizes game. Because they know what it looks like. The rules are the same regardless of the situation. If you are paying attention, you'll realize that the game is fixed. So your everyday motives, your everyday actions are to be happy with what you have. You can go around and think about it, like I said before. You can go around saying, oh man, this looking bad. Why do that? Why do that anyway? Go around, you focus on the gloom and doom. What you want people to feel? Sorry for you? I done got to the point where it's hard for me to feel sorry for people. I'm like, man, when I feel sorry for you, that brings me down. Now, if I'm down and you down, with, you know, that's like two negatives. You know, you put that together like jumper cables and you got a big spark. We can't have two negatives. We got to put some good positives in there to change the whole life, the whole game. Because it's fixed. There are rules to it. So when people don't follow the rules, you are penalized. That's why there are rules to everything. You think about this right here. If you don't follow the rules of banking, you're penalized with an overdraft fee. Am I right or right? If you don't follow the rules to credit management, you're penalized with bad credit. If you don't follow the rules of driving the speed limits, then you're penalized with a ticket for driving over the speed limit. If you don't follow the rules correctly, then it will always cost you for you not understanding that the game is already fixed. But think about this. If the answer to the game is already laid out before you, how are you failing in that game then? So that means somewhere along the line, the lazy bug sets in. Yeah, I said lazy bug, not lazy bug. And when the lazy bug sets in, that's following the lazy bug comes with an excuse. Well, you know, they don't let people like us have stuff like that. You know, I looked at life one day. Somebody told me, it's like, you know, you don't really need a house like that. Or when somebody tries to regulate and say, why does that CEO need to make that much money? That's too much money for somebody to make. I can't stand when I hear them judge a ball player. How much you making? Don't nobody need to make that much money. Here's what's going on. They're number one, not understand that the game is fixed. And two, they're saying, you at that level, please come down to my level of understanding. So when a person, I see this already, has a big, beautiful yacht floating down the ocean and they have their friends and family on there, then somebody else who can't think on that level is going to say, well, why do you need a boat like that? You know, it ain't like you live in it or you travel the world just a weekend or two a year. That's a waste of money. Well, it would be a waste of money to the person who has it. But to the person who has the abundance, and that's what the game is fixed. Would you fix the abundance side? Well, I don't want to go over, you know, my fair share. What the heck is fair share? I'm just going to ask you, maybe somebody will tell me fair share. What is fair share? Because every time General Motors came out with a new Escalade, I was like, I ain't got my fair share. Right? It's like I can't help that Rolls Royce came with the Ghost the way they came with the Ghost. So I'm like, wow, look at that. That's a Rolls Royce. People are like, that's a house going down the street. In or perspective. Kind of house you live in. You get this? The game is fixed. Once you recognize that the game is fixed, then you get real genuine on how to succeed versus real genuine on how not to succeed. That's why you walk around and say, you know what, I'm not going to judge anyone. I'm going to smile anyway. I'm going to be happy anyway. Because people who are down, that's why they call recovery. You know, somebody recover from something. You know, Me and Michelle was coming from Michigan one time. We in the car, we rolling good, and a guy in the truck, he come by. Boy, he was flying. The road was ice. You understand me? When I say ice, it was like 5 inches of ice. So I'm driving at the same speed, and I know not to touch the brakes. So if everybody stay at the same pace, even if you're on ice, you're going to go straight. You're going to do good. Here comes this guy in pickup. He comes flying, I guess because he's like, I'm in a 4x4. Boy, that truck in front of us starts swaying back and forth, and I was like, oh, Lord, this is it. This is it. Thank God. He did a full almost turn to 360 or 180, whatever you want to call it, and jumped off the highway. Now, I didn't touch the brake. I just put the car in neutral and just said, hey, we're going to coast into this. But after we got out, every muscle in my back and neck had stiffened up. Right there, it's like, wow, that's what happens when you perceive that something bad is going to happen. You know, so my muscles, my body, and everything was bracing for impact before it happened. For the next week, I was sore and nothing ever happened. And I just feel like that's how people are in life. They see what almost happened because you can visually see it, but it didn't even happen to them. But now the whole rest of the week, I'm like, ooh, why am I sore? And I'm like, oh, I clenched up because I knew that we about to hit. And I'm like, because I knew I'm going to put it in neutral, but see, the game was fixed because I already knew how to drive. Now, the average person would have stepped on the brake. Had I touched that brake, we'd have spun out of control too. So now there'd have been 2 guys looking like we figure skating on the highway. Like, up and no. I was like, put it in neutral, and those that don't understand how to drive on ice, put that baby in neutral and steer. Keep going, but keep your hand on that gear because at a certain point you might have to put it back in gear, touch the gas, and get back off of it. It's just a trick of driving. The science of that, it's already made. It's already fixed. So if you don't know what you're doing, you'll tap the brakes and you mess up and you'll slide out of control. So many people right now in life are tapping the brakes on their future, tapping the brakes on their dreams, tapping the brakes on what their life should be, and sitting there settling on it and going around sore with every problem, ulcer, everything else you can name. And it's like, but that didn't happen. Oh, this is what's wrong with me now. But that didn't happen. Are y'all with me on this? See, when you are genuine, those supporting you will also win. So let's get this. When we talk about the law of reciprocity and the game being fixed, you want the people around you to win, then that brings on some form of good cheer. Y'all been to a good ball game, and when the running back is running, or a baseball player hits it out the park, everybody's cheering. Well, he wins because the team now gets more points on the board, but even the fans are now cheering, being all excited. All right, talk to me. You know, the fans are being all excited, cheering, doing what they do, and we just have to recognize what's going on. It's like, wow, they're happy. He hit it. We was at the game in Big Poppy, Twins versus the Red Sox. You know, even the Twins fans, when he got up to the bat the 3rd time, got on the edge of the seat because he had never hit 3 homers in one game. I believe all of the fans wanted him to hit that 3rd homer, even those betting against him. See, you have the power. When you win once, people are like, You do it again, people are like, like, wait a minute, he's about to break a record. Now all of a sudden, people want to be in the house to say, I was there when he hit his 3rd homer in the game. So you felt the, oh, when he popped it up. You know, and I was like, wait a minute, did you hear that? Then like, oh, everybody wanted to cheer him on. To say, you know what, I was in the stadium when he did that. See, my whole point is, he did all the practicing prior. Some people wish they could just go up in the Major League Ball Stadium, hit it out, get up to bat again, hit it out, get up to bat again, almost hit it out, and he hits it in the upper deck. But can you imagine had he not practiced? See, you got to realize how things become a win-win. It's when you do all the things behind the scenes, when no lights and cameras and action is on you. It's all the studying you do to learn how to be better at your trade. is you never sit there and allow idle time or lazy bug time to come in. You stay on your mission, even when it looks like you're not. So when game time comes, you instantly fall in to doing things out of habit. So when I say the game is fixed, now you think in the direction of success. You are fixated on succeeding versus fixated on finding out the problems. You know, there are people who go through life and all they want to do is play the gotcha game. They want to point out every problem in the situation. So I always say, okay, now that we know all the problems, somebody tell me what's good. Because in everything, there's a problem. You can indulge too much into anything. Y'all got me? It's like, man, I was told one day I was eating some healthy food, and it's like, well, you know, it's healthy, but if you eat too much of it, it ain't as healthy as it could have been. I'm like, oh, well, I can just go ahead and have a buffet out of healthy food, and that, normally I have a buffet out of bad food, give me a buffet out of good food, and that's good, right? It's like, no, you defeat your purpose. But everything is fixed to help you in a certain way. It is your job to understand how that system or that thing or that gadget is supposed to work in your favor. So if you are in finances, it is your job to say, okay, this is how finances are fixed. You ever heard of a fixed interest rate? Or looking at the gross national product, looking at what the interest rate is, and change that all the time. So when you get and say, okay, this is fixed at this rate at this time. Look at the gas price. It gets fixed today at a certain price. So when you realize that, wait a minute, everything we're looking at is actually fixed that way. So if you get that everything's fixed that way, then now you realize that the game is fixed. But if you understand how the game is fixed, then you also know how to win the game. See, I'm in the mindset of like, okay, I'm not in the mindset of complaining about the gas prices. I'm in the mindset of understanding that that's the price of the gas. That's what the price is fixed at. So let me make sure that I adjust what I'm fixated on so that it can apply to the life that I desire to have. Does that make sense to you? If not, you're going to go through life with somebody else fixing you. You know, there's a problem. I got to complain. I got to complain. I'm at the point where I'm tired of complaining. It's time to live. So that you can see as the successful people learn the game and stay on top because they know the game is fixed. That's why you hear stories of successful people where they're like, man, it's like, seems like the rich get richer and the poor stay poor. Well, you know that's fixed too, right? So the knowledge of the game is what keeps them consistent also. So a wealthy person understands the game. So therefore, they replicate that, and they reproduce that, and they keep going in that direction. Well, the broke-minded person, their mind is also fixed on the thing. So when you try to pull a broke-minded person into the mindset of someone who's fixed on wealth building. Now here's what I know some folks are like, well, they were stealing from them. No. Sometimes you're just working a business and you're stating the laws of the hours needed to make it succeed. Now, if you put a limit on what it takes to succeed, it's like I was at a conference one day and a guy was in sales, and the top salesperson, and he said he had it all the way down to the number of sales he had, sales calls he had to make a day to hit his number. So a lady raised her hand and she said, well, if you had it all to do over again, what would you do? And I was like, his answer was just so extraordinary to me because it made sense. He said, well, I would do the same thing, but faster. Because you cannot beat the system. You have to go through it. So while some people are sitting back saying, well, yeah, it took 3 years, it took 4 years, 5 years. I was working with a lady one time, and she said, yeah, boy, I know it's going to take time, 3 to 5 years. I'm like, no, it won't. If you tell yourself something's going to take forever, guess what? It will take forever. That's called a self-fulfilling prophecy. You fixed the game. At that point, you fix the game not to happen before that date. But if you say, you know what, I want this to happen by this date, and you go ahead and you follow all the laws and the rules, including matched up with your attitude. So some people say, well, I did it every day, it didn't work. Well, your attitude is bad. I want to work with you. I need you, baby. Calm down. You're getting old on me, y'all. Like, look, I got some pains over here. You better do something. I'm giving you a warning that sooner or later I'm going out. You better back me up before I go out. Because I made a warning. But realize this, the system's not broken. It's fixed. People say things aren't working. No, you don't know how it's fixed to work. You know, when you look at the lights, fixtures in here, that's why they call it fixtures. When you look at the wall, you look at the countertops, you look at the podium, you look at everything. Everything is fixed in a certain position to make what we're doing right now work. Do y'all see that? Somebody came in at a certain time and fixed the chairs to be where they are. Put everything in place. And I'm like, wait a minute. So now we are having a successful meeting. The job for the provider of this building was to say, we're going to provide everything you need so that you are a success. And everything is fixed in place. Now, some will say, you know what, I ran into some traffic problems. Some will say, I couldn't make it tonight. Some will be like, whatever excuse they want to give. But can you see that the situation was already fixed up for us? Now I want you to picture life. What else is already fixed up for you? Waiting on you to go ahead and come get it. See, so many people are fixing themselves up. Now let me explain that. When you just say fixing yourself up, you're really only thinking about yourself too. But when you can understand that the law of reciprocity is already fixed, so therefore I have to make something good happen for Fred if I want something good to happen for me. If that's a smile from me to him and he smiles back, you know what that does? That brings a certain level of peace. But if I'm walking around and I mean mug him, he's like, well, this brother be mugging before. He gonna mean word? Bro, I go there too. You see that? So we have to learn what to entertain and what not to entertain. Our life is being dictated by the thoughts that we entertain and fix our mindsets on. So I just said, you know what? I have to fix my mindset on good things because I believe good things are going to happen to me because I got some big dreams and I need these big dreams to happen right now. So I got to fix my mind on some good things. So therefore my mind is fixed on succeeding, not failing. Now a lot of people are going through life saying, I don't know, you got to be careful. We got to be careful anyway. You can walk down the street and some fool can just drive the wrong way. It's happened to people. You can be in Walmart and some guy go over there and shoot you at the police. You get that? So live your life to the fullest now because we don't even know what's going to happen. You could be Tracy Morgan sitting in a limousine truck and all of a sudden another guy, Walmart again, we pray for Walmart. Here they come, bam, hit you, kill your best friend and everything. I'm like, whoa, you didn't know that was going to happen. So you got to fix your mindset right now. Say, you know what, the game of life, I got to go for mine now. Leave everything on the table. Don't sit back and say, well, I was going to do this, but this didn't happen. Well, I was going to do that because that didn't happen. Why don't you say, because I didn't do the things to make it happen? See, when you learn to take full responsibility, you'll say, you know what, that didn't happen because I didn't do the things to make it happen. But if you understand that the game is fixed, you say, that guy is not rich over there. Just because he's rich, he did something. So instead of being jealous-minded, you got to say, hold on, sir, can I mentor you? Can I learn from you? How did you do it? Show up to the conference. It ain't trying to sell you nothing, but give you free information. Because all it's doing is strengthening you. And we need strength, don't we? Yeah, we need strength. Like a weightlifter who wants to bring on muscle mass, he must endure the pressure of the weight on him. So this big muscle-bound guy here, yeah, he looks good. And you know what? I can't be jealous of that man because he looked good. I look good too. But see, the game was fixed. At least 3 years ago, he started going to the gym on a regular. He started eating a certain way. He fixed the game so the result could be that. So for those who say, you know what, oh, this weight is too much. Oh, I'm not getting up this early. Oh, I don't like eating this healthy food. But then what happens is you fall weak. And when you fall weak, then you don't get the good look. So now you go down the street and everybody looking at you, all right, that big joker. Instead of looking at that built joker. You understand? But everybody can be a player like me, Fred. See, I can have a belly, they look at him like, ooh, I bet he rock my chips. You get me? You get me? That's why I'm college, boy. That Paul Jones is a bad dude. Now, I said, this weight is what makes the man stronger because it's the pressure. He must keep lifting the weight, and soon the results will show. So in the beginning, when you start, you can be a little skinny and stronger on the block. You shouldn't have struggled with that weight. It ain't even a lot of weight because what a lot of people do, and this is the mental game now, y'all hear me? The mental game, you going in, you looking at the guy that's already made it. He's already standing and posing and looking all strong. And you're like, oh man, I ain't gonna never be as strong as this person. No, at one time, that person made the decision and say, you know what, I'm gonna get in here and I'm gonna lift this weight. And I'm gonna stay consistent and I'm gonna stay on it. And then 4 months later, some people look at you like, hey, you look a little different. You're like, yeah, I've been in a little training. That's all, I've been in a little training. Then you keep on going for 4 or 5 more months. And the same person come by later, they look at you like, ooh, can I touch you? They're going to touch on your arms now. They want to touch you. Look at her arms. Oh, her arms, you know, she can be doing it too. You know, it's like, I prefer to touch her arms. You get me? So, you know, next thing you know, it's a year and a half later. Now them shirts that used to be big and baggy, he done flipped them up. He got that tight shirt on, walking around, you know, and he take the jacket off, you know, looking all sexy. You're like, wow. But 3 years after that, you're looking at, man, what I just said is it took time. He had an image or perception, and he fixed his mindset on getting there, and he did not fall weak. So yeah, the game-to-game muscle is fit, but if you want the game to work this way in life, you got to do what it takes. It's up to you to go and say, you know what, this is how life is. So you choose what it is, but you still have to show up to the gym. If you don't show up to the gym, then you're not going to get the muscles. So showing up to the gym, maybe showing up to class, maybe showing up to sitting with a mentor, maybe going online and studying the information yourself, something to increase you. I can't afford a gym membership. Man, do some push-ups. That's free. You get that? So you're going to get somebody that will come with some kind of busted excuse. But you got to recognize that the game of life says, keep knocking, keep asking, keep seeking, and all will be revealed to you. As long as you keep doing it. You can't sit back, well, I'm waiting on my dad to do this. I'm waiting on my mom to do this. I'm waiting on my cousin. I'm waiting on my friend. I'm waiting on some other employee to do this. You know how people do? Companies are not succeeding at the level that they should be succeeding because another employee just said, you know what, that's not my job description. But they still knew exactly what to do, when they should have done it, that would have helped everything work out. So you got to get that winner spirit. And you got to understand, when you know you're going to win, because the game's already fixed, now that walks around with a different level of confidence. So I'm excited about life because I see things happening. I see things growing, and I'm like, you got to understand, when you have a dream and a vision that's been like to the point where you're like, man, is this even going to happen? Then all of a sudden it starts happening, and it starts creeping, and your phone starts ringing, and people are like, yo, that's a great idea. Yo, this is working out. How can I be down? And you're like, it's working! You're like, what the hell? I understand why people shout in some churches. You get me? You know, when something is working, you understand. You just want to, yeah, that music, you know, it's going right there. You want to go, I don't know what I don't know. But understand, now, what is keep knocking representing to you? Now, a lot of times people look at that, keep knocking, I know. You know, when you hear the same thing over and over, it can seem to lose its value. But if you're in sales, you got to keep knocking. Because eventually you're going to find that yes. You got to keep asking, because eventually you're going to get that yes. You got to keep seeking, because eventually you're going to find that person who is like you. And you got to realize that everybody wants to eat. So when you recognize and understand the game of life, which is the law of reciprocity, then you make sure that a good leader sometimes will go out the meal so that everybody else can have the meal. But by the end of the day, you don't eat too. You got to see the bigger picture of your life. And you got to have that confidence and belief in you, knowing that the game is fixed. So when you're knocking, you got to knock. Sometimes you're going to be knocking and be like, yo, yo. And they're going to look at you crazy. You're like, why is it like that? I'm like, empty house. The house may look empty. But you see a full house. You see everything the way it's supposed to be. So you keep knocking. You're like, oh, I'm going for this. People gonna look at you from the outside like, this guy or girl done lost their mind. You're like, no, the game is fixed. This is what I have to do. Because eventually, I'm gonna get a yes. And when you get that yes, a lot of times people treat it like a paycheck on a Friday. You know, it's funny, I worked at a company and I had to ask the guy, I said, why not pay on Monday instead of Friday? He said, if we pay on Friday, because it's a retail place, people don't show up to work on Saturday. And I'm like, now that's a shame, but if we pay on a Monday, they still show up on a Tuesday. But if they don't, Tuesday's still a slower day, so it doesn't hurt us as bad. And I'm like, but I would show up to pay me on Saturday. I mean, pay me on Friday, so I'm going to show up Saturday. I like making money, you get it? So I'm sorry, I never called in sick to work. Never. You will not find it. Man, that guy called in sick to work. I would be like, they might send me home. Like, dude, you look terrible. Go home. I'm like, will you pay me anyway? He's like, why? Well, they told him, I didn't put me out there. I'm holding on to I didn't get paid. See, I mean, my mind was already fixed. See, when you have a goal, and you have a written out goal, a plan, this right here, understand this. The game can be fixed for you if you didn't write nothing down. So you already know, it's like, it's the game fixed. I'm going to say, okay, great. Tell me what you want the next 5 years to look like for you. Well, I just don't want to struggle in life, and I just don't want to have bills. I'm like, well, that's normal. That's like going from Miss America. Hey, I don't really, I want to end world hunger. Okay, great. That sounds great. What do you want? Well, as long as God finds something on my table, I'm going to be fine. It's like, right, in your mind, you understand this, what we do to ourselves. Self-inflicting pain. We tell ourselves we don't need. I don't really need nothing like that. If I could just get this. I'm like, no. We already saying shoot for the stars and land for the moon. We know that. That's not a Paul Jones saying. I didn't invent that. So when I see people still say, well, I'm going to shoot for the moon, well then, you land back on Earth. I'm like, well then, in other words, you're right back where we started from. We got it out there. They said the hardest thing about the astronauts, what people don't realize, is they want to overshoot the moon. You don't think about stuff like that. I'm like, wow. So they had to know how to thrust and do right because we can't comprehend the gravity. So your thrust and your burners must be so that you don't overshoot the moon. Because you can put brakes on all you want. What is brakes when there's no gravity? And I'm like, wow. My mind, understand this, what happens to us, will not allow me to realize what no gravity actually meant because I only know life with gravity. Take that same understanding and your mind, which you've never had any wealth in your life, and somebody says, hey, no gravity over here, meaning no barriers, meaning nothing stops you, unlimited accounts, unlimited funding, go anywhere and buy whatever you want. You'll look at that, hear that, believe that for a moment, but then you say, well, it's gravity over here. So you pull yourself back down, and I realized, now, wait a minute, I was supposed to be out here floating and enjoying my life. Doesn't that sound much better? See, no matter what environment you are in, the game is already fixed. So if you want to change environments, you have to adapt to that game. I know the game is fixed. So I'm going to keep knocking because I know the game is fixed. I'm going to keep asking. Some people are like, well, I don't want to ask nobody for help. But that's how you're going to die. But I'd rather get a no than I even ask. You know, somebody said one time, I was like, well, I was going to ask you, Paul, if you want to speak of that, but it wasn't no budget, so, you know, we didn't really ask you. I'm like, man. So you knew I like to get paid. So you didn't ask me because you didn't have no money. And I'm like, wow, I would have done it. Everybody in the world would call me like, well, Brother Paul, did you come in? But no, for the event that I'm talking about, I'm like, no, I've done that. It's like, wow, I know the people. I would have came and spoke to that. It's like, why? There's a personal connection. My heart would have been relating to that situation. And I can speak on that because I know about it. But your mindset was, we don't have a budget for that. So therefore, you don't ask. You know what? You know how many people ask to help me out? And I'm like, I ain't got a budget to help you, but boy, if you can show up, that would be real good for us. I get famous day, all the love and respect in the world. I make pretty good barbecue, but I always go to him too. Because I dealt with people who are not on his success level, who gave me the run around, oh, I need to get paid this, we need assistance, we need all this, we need to fly these books here, we need first class and all that. He just said, yes. And I'm like, and you're wealthier than all of them. So you learn from this. Like, this man is wealthier than all of them. And it was the easiest thing to do. And I'm like, you know what? That's what you mentor. That's what I want to be like. The game is fixed. If you are self-centered, realize the game is fixed for you. But if you are open-minded, if you can see everybody winning, and knowing that don't mean just going and giving your harvest away. I didn't say that and won't say that. That means you're making a system in place so that everyone can win. And when everyone can win, you win too. You got to recognize on this day in life that all will be revealed to you sooner or later. But if you want to be the muscle-bound person in the gym, all you have to do is go through the routine. There is nothing that says that you cannot be big and swole. Now, you can take that metaphor that I'm using and use it in any area of your life, financially, health-wise, in a personal relationship, whatever. You can take that however you want to take it and realize that you still have to show up. You still have to do the work. And you must stay consistent. And eventually, people will look and say, wow, I never considered you because you did not look like success then I first met you. But then later they see you and they will respect you because they see that you started playing the game to win. Once you get this, you'll know. I always said, people don't fail, they give up. Because the game of life is fixed. It is fixed in your favor or it's fixed to work against you. The decision on how it's going to work out is all up to you. I advise you to roll with me or anybody that says, oh, I got a plan. We going somewhere. Because once you know the game is fixed, you don't even slow down to tolerate any confusion. The game is fixed. That means eventually you will win. The game is fixed. That means people will notice you in the light that you always saw yourself in the first place. The game is fixed. That means you have to believe that the game is fixed in your favor. Amen. Heavenly Father, I come to you in the name of Jesus, and I thank you for giving me this word. And I thank you for giving me the pep talk that you've given me. And thank you for opening the doors that you've opened for me, Heavenly Father. And I ask that everyone connected to me, my voice, can win. We know we need to stay consistent. We know we need to keep pressing on. As your word said, press forward. That's what we will do. The game is fixed in our favor because we know it is. And we will win. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.